Okay, welcome back, folks. Welcome to the Reality Check with Charles Butler. We are getting set up here. We're listening to Nancy Pelosi tell her famous, infamous tales of woe. Tell him to call back. Tales of woe. So here we go, time and time again, doing what we do right here at Red State Talk Radio. Nancy Pelosi talking about women led the way to victory. Well, we had an unprecedented number of women running for office, especially on the GOP side. And I can tell you that, man, I think that hurt Republicans. Personally, I think that hurt Republicans. Everyone wants to tout about women, women, women. It's just like touting blacks, 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 and you're not qualified. We've seen what's happened in black communities across the country who vote black. Just doesn't get it done, does it? You know, you see the state of Black America. You see the state of America. You see how this thing we call qualifications, this thing we call experience, means something. It should mean something, but it doesn't. And people are playing gender and race politics, and they're getting what they deserve in Washington, D.C., i.e., you look at the Congressional Black Caucus, that body of worthless bodies. We got Robert Roselli calling in from New Jersey. Talk a little bit about what happened last night in the midterms. I think that Republicans had a good showing, and we'll see what Mr. Roselli has to say. Robert Roselli, welcome to the Reality Check with Charles Butler. How are you?
Hey Charles, how you doing? And thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're great, man. It was a hell of a night last night. I tell you, it was a hell of a night for Republicans, a hell of a night for Democrats. I think we succeeded where we needed to, and that is keeping the Senate, because that's where the
Sure.
that's where the judges get nominated and appointed, and and I think that's what's going to change the tenor of the country, not a little 2-year change of leadership in the House.
Sure. Well, I mean, I was doing some reading. I mean, I guess on historical averages, the Trump did better than most in the midterms in terms of the amount of seats that were lost in the House and the amount were gained in the Senate. So overall, I guess you'd have to say it was a good day, even though control of the House was lost.
Well, I mean, look, we had the House. Listen, Robert, we had the House. We control the House and the Senate. Yeah. We couldn't get a lot done with Paul Ryan, the Rhino, or Senator right. McConnell. We could not get the border wall funded. Why couldn't we get it funded? Because Paul Ryan does not want a wall. That's why. So, I mean, let's be real about this. I mean, just because somebody has an R in back of their name doesn't mean they have our agenda at heart. That was the rise of the Tea Party. The Tea Party had to be put down because it was demanding that people elected on conservative values and morals go to Congress and act on them. Instead, these people like Paul Ryan, Jeff Flake, John McCain were trying to out-Democrat Democrats and be popular.
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, look, at the end of the day, I mean, these guys are all political. They're all political whores. I mean, is what it boils down to. Sorry, I hear you. I mean, I'm trying to get a full conspiracy cook here, but basically, you're exactly correct. I mean, Trump obviously breaks the mold, and this is why everybody hates him in Washington, Republicans and Democrats. Just looking, I guess I'm looking at it more as the mindset of the country, and it's still kind of, I guess, half and half, split down the middle.
I don't think it's
voters and multiple voters notwithstanding.
Well, that's true, but I don't think it's split down the middle. I really don't. I think that the country's moving to the center, and there are a lot of people out there don't want to see the country move to the center. I mean, how does a does a network stop running an ad because they decide the ad is too racist. Remember the Willie Horton ads?
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. You're probably too young to remember the Willie Horton ad that they ran.
No, I remember. I mean, I was a freshman in college, right? That was 1988, right? Was that older George Bush?
Yeah. So they ran the Willie Horton ad.
About that, right?
They ran the Willie Horton ad. Had this black man who was a prison guy who got out of jail, who got out of prison and killed somebody. They had him plastered across the TV 24/7. And now we have people who say, well, you know, we don't like your ad because it kind of tells the truth about immigration. So we're going to pull it because it's too racist. And this is one thing that I have to say about all these white people that I see on TV talking about racism. None of them know anything about racism. None of them know anything about being black or brown in America. I am tired of white people talking and telling me who's racist and what racism is. Because when I look at these news, networks, and I see that the nation is 15% black, and I don't see one. I'm sorry. There is one black half man. I don't know what you would call him. He's, calls him, he's got a husband. He has a husband. So what do you call a person like that? I don't know.
Right.
But you have this queer guy who's this queer black guy. He's supposed to be representative of black. No, he's not a black man. He's a queer. And, he's the only black person with a show on the national networks out of all the national networks we have.
Sure. Well, I'm trying not to go conspiracy kook, but if you don't mind, let me just say this. Okay, these useful idiot white liberals that you're referring to on these Ivy League white liberals that come out of all these tax exempt foundation funded useful idiots. This is what we're really seeing.
Okay.
Of course, these people don't know nothing about racism. I mean, true racism is Darwinism. Is Charles Darwin. And his descendants like Margaret Sanger and her Negro Project, which today is Planned Parenthood. I mean, you want to talk about genocide and racism,
right?
And even the Great Society, which is brought to us by white liberals and Lyndon LBJ and his Rockefeller overlords, which has done nothing but destroy the black community. Then you want to talk about institutional racism. There it is. But unfortunately, the Federal Reserve, allies, through the tax exempt foundations like the Ford Foundation, Carnegie Endowment, the Rockefeller Brothers Fund, and all. They control the colleges, they control education, and they control the media. I mean, it's so obvious now. It's so apparent. And who are their lackeys? Are the white liberals we see on TV,
and conservatives, and
the occasional bootlickers like Whoopi Goldberg.
Well,
and whoever else.
She would love hearing.
Right?
She would love hearing you call her a bootlicker, liquor. That would be, man. She would jump on you, dude.
I'm not a diplomat.
She would jump
on. She would, but that she's on with white liberals, and white liberals have been like you're saying, they've been trashing the black family, the black community. I mean, what's the other one there? Sharpton. He's another one.
I forgot.
Jesse Jackson, Clyde. I mean, these people are all millionaires.
I forgot that Sharpton has a show. So there are two blacks with the show. Don Lemon,
right,
and who's the half black man,
right,
and then you have Al Sharpton, who can't speak and has a talk show, so can't read a teleprompter.
Right.
I mean, that's how intelligent he is.
Right.
So. And these are supposed to be, and I always say, who elected these people as spokesmen for black people? Black people didn't have a vote, Al Sharpton, man, I tell you, it takes my old friend who ran his office here in Chicago to talk about Al Sharpton. I ran into Al over at my old station. He was telling people he didn't know me, and I know Al Sharpton. Al Sharpton told me that Donald Trump gave him millions of dollars, gave him at least $2 million a year for the last 20 years for his National Action Network. So when they're calling this man a racist, I always say, on what grounds? And then my friends go, well, what about the apartments? And I go, what about apartments? I said, you know, every time, I said, black people need to hold themselves accountable too. I said, every time I've been in several situations where it's all white community, whites move out, I decide to stay, blacks are moving in, and you can't leave your garage door up. You can't leave your car unlocked. You know, all the vandalism, all the theft. Your kids go to school with people who are talking about sex and all this other crazy stuff. I mean,
Right.
Black people need to get their house in order. We have a lot of issues, and that is, we have allowed the underclass, the black underclass, to become what blackness is. And blackness is not poor, ignorant, backwards ass people who can't put a sentence together in proper English. If you listen to Martin Luther King speak, or Jackie Robinson, or Paul Robeson, or any of these people, you know, any of them, Roy Wilkins, they were all articulate, well-spoken. And we go from that to Al effing Sharpton. Come on. Or Jesse Jackson, who is totally inarticulate. And I think I mean, really? I call Jesse the original rapper.
Again, Charles, this is by design. Again, this is the white bankers that, I know it sounds like conspiracy group, but that's just the way it is. The media is owned. They put the Harvard, Ivy League, useful white liberal idiots, and like you say, the occasional black person on TV to give them some credibility, and they're eviscerating the black community. It's, you know, what's the illegitimacy rate in the black? It's like 75%. So, you know, almost 8 out of every 10 black people born in this country don't have a father, and we're, you know, we're wondering why these kids are out of control of these schools. I mean, look, I grew up in a white suburban neighborhood. We have a 1% black population, maybe 5% Hispanic, and you know, and I get it, you know, and I'm not saying I experienced any of this, but it's so obvious what's going on. But the white liberals want to control our lives, and they take God out of the schools. You take the fathers out, and now you got Big Daddy government. And that's exactly what it is. So when you peel it all away, this is Satan's playground.
Yep.
Destroy God, destroy Christianity, destroy the family, and have some kind of humanistic kind of George Orwell society where everybody's equal. There's no male, there's no female, there's no marriage. And this is exactly what's going on. You're seeing this conflict between the humanists, the Ivy League useful idiot humanists, and the Christians that are left in this country. And I think that's what underlies all of this stuff. And I just to get right to the point.
Well, I think I'm going to leave you with something, because obviously you're on the right track. So let me leave you with something to put in your pack of arrows. John Adams said this. Now, this is not Charles Butler. This is John Adams, third president of the United States. He said, our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is woefully inadequate to the government of any other. Okay? Our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is woefully inadequate to the government of any other. So like you were saying, without saying this, when you take religion, when you take morals and values out of the public discourse, out of government, out of our lives, what are you left with? Satanism, cannibalism, pedophilia, homosexuality. You're left with all of these maladies that have nothing to do with pursuing life, liberty, and happiness. Based on what? Do you think that?
And don't forget don't forget human sacrifice of abortion.
Well, it's to me, it's just unconscionable. Like this guy, what was his name? Dr. Q. They just made a movie about him. The physician in Philadelphia who was killing all the babies. What was his name?
Yeah, Godnell in Philadelphia, sure.
Godnell, yeah.
It was Kurt Godnell.
You know, this guy, they labeled him a serial killer, man. He killed so many babies. He'd take a baby out the womb and slit its throat. Ooh.
Right.
I mean, what kind of people are these?
Well, and what kind of people, again, in the liberal press that don't cover this? This is an abomination. But why don't they cover it? because then people start looking at abortion in a very different light. And this is one of the mainstays of the so-called modern Democratic Party. And again, abortion is a descendant of Charles Darwin, who was a major racist himself, put black people in zoos and circuses as proof of evolution. And Margaret Sanger comes along and says, well, we got to destroy these. We got to kill these people. Well, the best way to do it is through abortion. And today we call this Planned Parenthood. And now you got this doctor literally killing black babies in Philadelphia, but the white liberal press won't cover it. So, it's an abomination.
Okay. So look,
right out of the Old Testament.
So look, let's get to this. What do you think happened yesterday? Was there a blue wave? I called it a blue ripple myself. But what do you think about the results yesterday?
I think overall it was expected. Probably a little bit disappointing that Republicans didn't hold more House seats. But look, between the voter fraud, the felons, the dead people voting, this is, and the stupid white liberal college kids, that's their constituency. They were bound to do better than they should have. But overall, I guess it's about what people are expecting.
So that's your take on what happened yesterday?
Yeah, I think it was. I think if the opinions, I think that's pretty much what I expected. I figured the Democrats would win at least the House just based on what the factors I mentioned. But probably what did happen is probably had a lot more Republican voters. But again, they're in the all kinds of shenanigans. But the country's still divided. There's no doubt about that. And
yeah.
So, but I think, moving forward, what are we looking at here? More investigations of Trump, and it's, again, these people, it's not Trump per se that they hate. It's actually America that these people hate. I think people need to keep that in mind. I mean, Trump represents what these people, these Northeastern liberal elites hate. That's what they really hate. When they hold Trump's head in effigy, his beheaded head on his decapitated head. This is the mentality of these people. I mean, this is a hatred, a vitriol that's
well.
Really
let's give
that was one. By, say,
that was just one.
Or,
wait a minute. That was one comedian. She's a nobody. What bothers me is when the mainstream media decides that they're going to pull and decide what ads are going to be on TV based on their agenda. Amazing. It's just amazing.
Yeah. And that's that's blatant censorship. And supposedly we have Fox News, although Fox is is watchable once in a while, but I still think they're on that kind of that Rhino Bush side of things. They're not real conservative. I think but anyway, but the rest of the media is a left wing joke. I mean, it's that we discussed before. It's not surprising.
So
these people basically, it just goes back to the conversation about God, right? There's no God. These people have elevated themselves to God, and they get to decide, what the little people get to see.
Okay, so question for you:
Anyway.
What was your group doing yesterday? What did you guys do during this midterm?
My group, me, my family, but I don't have a group. I try to get on shows like this. I used to belong to New Jersey Oath Keepers, and but that's back a while back for just they cut the gal reasons I'd rather not get into right now. But anyway, I mean, look, I'm not politically active, as far except for doing things like this. I'm really. A lot of people don't even like to talk to me because sometimes I got two conspiracy theorists sometimes and whatever, but so.
Okay. Well, look, what do you think? I'm gonna get ready to go to commercial here. But give me your closing thoughts on the election yesterday and what took place.
Well, again, I think you had this. You had a meeting of the red and the blue, the immovable object and irresistible force, and we kind of split things down the middle, which is just representative of where we are right now, which is a split country, 50-50. Northeastern elites, useful idiots, and media, really, and Cal Berkeley and the West Coast. Let's not forget them versus the rest of the country, and that's. I don't think the country makes it out of this. I mean, I hate to be pessimist, but that's probably a conversation. That's a whole other subject. But between the debt, the deficit, and the Federal Reserve, and all
you don't
that,
think the country makes it out of what?
Anyway, nobody's talking about that.
You don't think the country makes it out of what?
We have a massive. We're split. We're civil unrest. We have people that vitriol here. And the Federal Reserve, the deficit and the debt. And I don't know what Donald Trump, that's a whole other conversation, but I know Donald Trump's against doing it. At some point, the insurmountable debt is going to sink this nation. And it's just a mathematical certainty. And nobody is addressing that.
Okay. Well, look, man, it's,
all right.
It was great having you on board today. It was quite a treat for being the guest. So,
Charles, I appreciate it. And if you don't mind, on my website, real quick, boxofsunglasses.com. It's one word, and a lot of information on there if people are interested.
Okay, say it again, Bob.
Boxofsunglasses.com.
Okay,
it's one word. It's out of my favorite movie, John Carpenter's They Live. Best movie ever.
Thanks, man. Take care.
All right.
Okay. Robert Roselli. Okay, look, folks, we're going to segue into something that, hey, guys, you heard me talk about our friends at Transatlantic Real Estate who've created a unique investment opportunity that will let you, the regular guy and girl, they've created a unique investment opportunity that you have to let sink in for a second, okay? And that is legal marijuana and crowdfunding. Right now, the legal marijuana movement continues, and it's growing, showing up on ballots all across the country. Here are two more things that I want you to focus on: voting and investing. Why? Because your actions will determine your future. That means your vote will have a direct impact on your local government, your investment opportunities. Now, typically it takes millions, if not billions, to invest in legal marijuana industry. And it can be pretty risky getting started. However, Transatlantic Real Estate is different. They buy the land that supports marijuana growth operations and leases it to licensed high-paying tenants. Imagine being a landlord to a licensed marijuana farm, even in a booming industry. I'd rather be a landlord than a tenant. And you can get started for as little as $300 up to $10,000. The best part of this is they're using crowdfunding to make it easy to get in before they take the company public. So the two things you need to know and need to focus on right now are voting and investing. To vote, we've already talked about that. You went to the polls yesterday. And to invest, go to marijuanastock.org. That's marijuanastock.org. Tell them Charles Butler sent you. Amazing. Also, we're going to talk a little bit about dental care. We have a great dental care program that's we're going to offer through the show. So stay tuned. We'll talk about that a little later. Oh, by the way, if you want to have any comments about yesterday, give us a call at 215-867-8255. All right. So, my thoughts on yesterday. I thought that it was a ripple. Yeah, they took back the House, but the House is pretty much inconsequential. It's a it's a robust body that is doing its thing, and When I say that, what I mean by that is we look at the House, and Nancy Pelosi says she's going to drain the swamp. Why are they always using Donald Trump's? Nancy Pelosi was leader of the House from what? I think she was leader of the House from 20. Let's see. I think she was leader of the House, the Speaker from 08 until, let's see, Barack lost it in 2011. Yeah, man, these years run together and they run quick. I tell you, they run so quickly. But yeah, anyway, and Pelosi never talked about draining the swamp because she's part of it. She's part of it. Now, we have some interesting races here. We had some interesting races, I should say, here in Illinois. We had the governor's race. That's where I'll start. Bruce Rauner and J.B. Pritzker. J.B. got in the race. Bruce has done such a poor job that he didn't have a snowball's chance. Sitting governor did not have a snowball's chance to win this race, period. I mean, from the time he announced, he should have just said, hey, I'm not going to run. Let somebody else run because, I messed up. But no, nobody really wants the job. It's a suck job. But being the governor of one of the worst states in the country because of high taxes, high unemployment, corrupt police forces, corrupt public officials, it's bad. We had several congressional races that were lost. Peter Roskam lost, and I didn't think Peter would lose, but he got outplayed, he got outsmarted, he got outworked. And Holgret, he lost to a newcomer named Underwood. And Underwood, when I first saw her on TV, I thought, oh, this is interesting. Why did she get in the race? Why is she running against this veteran incumbent? She won. She ran and she won. She's a Democrat. She's a Democrat. Stone cold Democrat. Listen to her acceptance speech. You'll see why. Very pleasant, very nice lady. Let's play it. It's just what she did, that she took control of her own destiny. And she said, hey, people thought when I got in that, I was just a pretty face. I guess I showed them. Listen.
When I started this journey, people were like, oh, how cute. You want to run for Congress? Oh, bless your heart. And the 14th, wow, good luck. Didn't think we had a shot. And here we are, one of the closest races in the country. People are watching, and the majority in the House could come as a result of the Illinois 14th flipping and our campaign winning. It's a real honor to be able to step forward to represent my community and carry forward their voices in Congress, and I hope to earn the support.
Yeah, well, she did. She's got the support of the people. She was elected, and she's the new congressperson for that district, western suburbs. Congratulations to Congressman Underwood. Oh, man. And we had some other races that were closer than expected. Danny Davis, who's been a longtime Democrat here, he's known for his deep voice and having the best voice in the Congress. He's a big baritone voice. Interesting. Like him a lot. But anyway, he had a very close race. It was like 51 to 48, 49, something like that. Trump tickled me, though. We're talking about impeachment. God. But we're not going to get on that right now because the president sent them a message and he said, hey, you can come after me if you want. It's a two-way street. I'm watching the president come on TV today to talk about last night and the election. And here's a guy who they talk about how he ducks the media. He doesn't do press. He's always doing press conferences. He's always talking to the media. He loves it. He spent 90 minutes here. I'm thinking against Pelosi reelection. Here I'm thinking that, I don't know, it's going to be a half an hour, maybe 40 minutes. So I'm just, kind of listening and looking. Man, did I mess up. Trump and Jim Costa get into it. And Jim Costa's from CNN. And he tried to cut the president off. The president said, hey, I took two of your questions. Now it's time for me to move on. And Jim Acosta tries to bogart the guy. And he says, wait a minute. Well, I'll let you listen to President Trump engage this guy. And he engaged him well. Listen.
On the Russia investigation, are you concerned that you may have?
I'm not concerned about anything with the Russian investigation because it's a hoax. That's enough. Put down the mic.
Mr. President, are you worried about indictments coming down in this investigation? Mr. President.
I'll tell you what, CNN should be ashamed of itself having you working for them. You are a rude, terrible person. You shouldn't be working for CNN. Go ahead.
I think that's unfair.
You're a very rude person. The way you treat Sarah Huckabee is horrible. And the way you treat other people are horrible. You shouldn't treat people that way. Go ahead. Go ahead, Peter, go ahead.
In Jim's defense, I've traveled with him and watched him. He's a diligent reporter who busts.
Well, I'm not a big fan of yours either, so
I understand.
To be honest.
So let me ask you a question if I can. You repeatedly said
you are the
Wait a minute. Man, that is too funny. This reporter stands up to defend Jim Acosta. And the president said, I'm not a big fan of yours either. Man, you have to love it. I mean, this is straight out of New York, dude. I mean, this is like, bam, in your face. None of these Midwest niceties. It's just right in your face. Wow.
best.
Mr. President, you repeatedly, over the course of the...
Just sit down, please. Well, when you report fake news, when you report fake news, which CNN does a lot, you are the enemy of the people. Go ahead.
Mr.
Wow. That was a hell of an exchange, wasn't it? I loved it. I love that President Trump engaged these guys. He doesn't back off because they're disrespectful. They're totally disrespectful. And the president said, hey, I came here, tried to be nice, tried to, give you access. And what do? I got people jumping out of chairs, yelling and screaming at me. Not going to deal with it. Not going to have it. I love it. I like the fact that he defends himself and he defends his people. Obama in the midterms, his first midterm. Barack Obama got killed his first midterm. I mean, we gained House seats. We took over the Senate. I think we took back the House first. Then we took back the Senate in 2014 from Harry Reid. And man, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. That's all I can say, that we get to take back these offices every now and then, these majorities every now and then. I think it's a great thing, though, that the Democrats won the House. And this is why. Because with the Democrats winning the House, now they have to do something. Now they have to put out laws. Now they have to put out policies, and we'll see what they're going to do. Where are you, Democrats? What you going to do? You going to sit and wait for the president to put out something so you can fight against it? No, that's not their role anymore. They have an active role in government now because they control the House of Representatives. So they have to get busy. So this is a good thing. It's a good thing for the country. It's a good thing for President Trump. It's a good thing for Senator McConnell. Because now he can say, well, we tried to work with the House, but, And this is the great thing about our government. Checks, balances, veto, overrides. A well thought out government, well planned. It was not planned to allow a dictator or a Hitler or anyone else. When I hear people like the other day, a buddy of mine told me that Donald Trump was like Adolf Hitler. He was doing what Adolf Hitler did in the 1930s. Wow. It looks like there may be a runoff in Georgia. This is breaking news, that Kemp and Abrams might have to have a runoff. Wow, that'll be deep. I bet you that'll get people up out of their seats. That'll get people out from in front of the TV. And if they have to have a runoff, look out for the fake votes. Look out for the people coming in from other states voting. It will happen, people. That's how Democrats play. We filmed Democrats coming from Wisconsin to Illinois to vote on buses and going back across the border. That happened 2 years ago. Filmed it. Not something I made up, something that we filmed. Amazing, isn't it? Hey, look, we're going to take a quick break here, and we'll be right back with the Reality Check with Charles Butler.
Kim Moline, co-owner of the Wingstop restaurants in Lansing and South Holland.
Hey, Tom, I've got to be honest. Although I was unhappy with our old payroll company, I was pretty apprehensive about transitioning into a new one. When it comes to payroll, delays and lost data are really unacceptable. But I'm happy to say your staff really made it easy for us, and the transition couldn't have been smoother. And now, as we consider taking advantage of some of the other services you offer, well, let's just say that next time we won't be so chicken.
Thanks, Kim. Just call me at 630-242-1507. That's 630-242-1507. Or check us out at the web at precisionpayroll.com. That's precisionpayroll.com. Kim Moline, co-owner of the Wingstop restaurants in Lansing and South Holland.
Hey, Tom, I've got to be honest. Although I was unhappy with our old payroll company, I was pretty apprehensive about transitioning into a new one. When it comes to payroll, delays and lost data are really unacceptable. But I'm happy to say your staff really made it easy for us, and the transition couldn't have been smoother. And now, as we consider taking advantage of some of the other services you offer, well, let's just say that next time we won't be so chicken.
Thanks, Kim. Just call me at 630-242-1507. That's 630-242-1507. Or check us out at the web at precisionpayroll.com.
Okay, we're back. We're back from this short break, and we'll be talking more about. I'm trying to pull up the video, the audio on this Fox app, and it's taking me to some places I really don't want to go. But you have to go where these things take you, and it takes me to DirecTV. I don't have DirecTV. I have DirecTV now, which I may just open up and run. That probably is a better way to do what I'm trying to do anyway. But the Attorney General resigns one day after the GOP picks up seats in the Senate. Wow. Jeff Sessions resigned. Wow, that's breaking news. I mean, it just happened. I just looked up at the television. Sessions just resigned. And you know, we have to wonder why Sessions resigned. He recused himself. You know, I mean, Trump got elected to shake things up. Trump got elected to go do the people's work. And Jeff Sessions just wasn't up to it for some reason. I heard that he was saying things like, well, we're not going to go after Hillary Clinton, or we're not going to do this because it leads to Hillary Clinton. And I'm thinking to myself, that's why we put you there, Jeff. That's why we put you there. We, the people. That's why we put you there, dude. But people are talking about this. Let's just tune in if we can. Let's see.
The Attorney General's resignation?
No, I mean, it was talked about in generalities, kind of what he plans to do with Sessions. He said, ask me that. I'll have more to say about that at a later time. I expect a later time has arrived.
Right.
So now we wait and see what else is coming down the pike. You know, the president has expressed privately some concerns about certain members of his cabinet.
Right.
There were some rumors that were floating around a couple of months ago that the Secretary of Defense, Jim Mattis, may not be around long after the midterm elections, though everybody I hear from at the Pentagon has said that they don't expect that he would resign. He would have to be taken out by the president. So stay tuned, but this is the first big shoe to drop. John, can you
stand by for us there? Yep. And I'm going to go to Catherine Herod. She is in Washington. And Catherine, you have the letter?
That's right. I have the letter right here. It's a single page, and it dovetails with what we learned earlier today, that the president requested the resignation of the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions. Join me because I'm going to read it now for the first time as I read it to you. At your request, I am submitting my resignation, the Attorney General writes. Since the day I was honored to be sworn in as Attorney General of the United States, I came to work at the Department of Justice every day determined to do my duty and serve my country. I have done so to the best of my ability, working to support the fundamental legal processes that are the foundation of justice. He continues, the team we assembled embraced your directive to be a law and order Department of Justice. We prosecuted the largest number of violent offenders and firearm defendants in our country's history. We took on transnational gangs that are bringing violence and death across our borders and protected national security. We did our part to restore immigration enforcement. We targeted the opioid epidemic by prosecuting doctors, pharmacists, and anyone else who contributes to this crisis with new law enforcement tools and determination. And we have seen results. After 2 years of rising violent crime and homicides prior to this administration, those trends have reversed thanks to the hard work of our prosecutors and law enforcement around the country. The Attorney General continues, I am particularly grateful to the fabulous men and women in law enforcement all over this country with whom I have served. I have had no greater honor than to serve alongside them. As I have said many times, they have my thanks and I will always have their backs. Most importantly, in my time as Attorney General, we have restored and upheld the rule of law, a glorious tradition that each of us has a responsibility to safeguard. We have operated with integrity and have lawfully and aggressively advanced the policy agenda of this administration. And then he concludes on a personal note. I have been honored to serve as Attorney General and have worked to implement the law enforcement agenda based on the rule of law that formed a central part of your campaign for the presidency. Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. President. It's signed Attorney General Jeff Sessions. So this letter was requested this morning, drafted within the last few hours, and then provided to the White House. Just for some context, Dana, and forgive me if this goes over some ground that you already heard from John Roberts, but I was just getting dialed in. What I'd heard from my contacts is that there was going to be no movement on any changes to leadership at the Justice Department until after the midterms. And the swiftness with which action would be taken would partially be a reflection of how significantly the Republicans had expanded the majority in the Senate. And you know why that is, because this gives the president greater latitude to get confirmed the nominee of his choice. So with that expansion, it now seems that the administration has moved quickly to replace the Attorney General. The question then becomes, what does that mean for his deputy, Rod Rosenstein? I know through my contacts on the Hill that there was some concern that if the president chose to terminate Rod Rosenstein, this would be interpreted as obstruction of justice with the Russia investigation. Under this scenario, by replacing the attorney general, he has the ability to appoint someone who, after an ethics review, may not be found to have any conflict in any Russia collusion investigation and could then take over
from Rod
the probe and its oversight. Correct.
All right. Catherine Herridge, if you'll stand by as well, we're going to bring in Judge Napolitano and Chris Stirewalt here.
Wow, man, this is moving so fast. Okay, we win the Senate, we keep the Senate, get a couple of extra seats in the Senate. President Trump goes to the podium this morning, tells that he thinks we're on the right track. We've done a good job. We can work with Democrats, yada, yada, yada. Meanwhile, he asked Jeff Sessions for his resignation. He probably called him at home this morning. Jeff probably hadn't gotten out of bed. He probably called him about 6 o'clock. Jeff, got something I want you to do, my friend. Thank you for your service. I want you to turn in your resignation. Wow, man, that's heavy. That is really, 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 really heavy. And, but that's the way the game's played in Washington. And Judge Napolitano is on Fox right now. I'd really like to hear what he's saying. And I'm sure you would too. So let's clip over there. Let's see.
Has taken Whitaker and promoted him above Rod Rosenstein. I don't know Whitaker's
Judge,
personal
I have a
background.
tweet. There's a tweet alert.
There's a tweet alert.
It is from President Trump. He says, "We are pleased to announce that Matthew G. Whitaker, Chief of Staff to Attorney General Jeff Sessions at the Department of Justice, will become our new acting Attorney General of the United States. He will serve our country well. We thank Attorney General Jeff Sessions for his service and wish him well!" Exclamation point. A permanent replacement will be nominated at a later date. To your point,
Acting Attorney General Whitaker is a former United States attorney. Chris would know this better. I think Iowa. I'm not sure where.
I believe that's correct.
In that context, he was confirmed by the United States Senate, but he was not confirmed by the United States Senate for a leadership position in the Justice Department, and the statutes require that confirmation. The White House is going to have to work this out. Who has been confirmed and who's next in line? Deputy Attorney General Rosenstein.
Which probably, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to say that's probably not going to happen.
I'm
out of the prediction business.
I am serving this up for the political master.
Wow. Dana Perino got out of that real quick. She said, I'm not going to predict what's going to happen. She jumped right out of that. That was too funny. But man, I tell you, the scenario's been set. Trump's busy. Trump's on the move. This is a president, folks, who is not taking his job lightly. This is a president who is very serious. The president is moving forward. I love it. I love his energy. I love the fact he's taking control. I know a lot of my friends are glad that the House was won, but for some reason, I have this sneaking suspicion that Pelosi will not be the speaker. I don't know, but something just tells me that I just can't see Pelosi being the speaker. And I'm so glad, just so that you know, folks, I am so glad that Republicans did not take the House, because the people who are running for the leadership are total pussies. McCarthy, pussy. He's a total wimp. Just like Ryan was. Ryan was a wimp. And he's going to go against the president on immigration. I mean, really? Before the election? I am so glad that those folks are gone. Ryan couldn't even win in his own district. He couldn't win re-election. That's why he wasn't running. It's like, hey, I'm out. I'm out. Man, they're still talking about this. They cannot get over Jeff Sessions resigning. He's gone. Out, toast. Let's see here. I'm just trying to pull up this report.
One source say that Whitaker will take over the Russia investigation from the Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein. Rosenstein was given the Russia investigation, you'll remember, when General Sessions recused himself, and it may be that Whitaker takes over now that he's the acting Attorney General. We have not confirmed that on this side of Pennsylvania Avenue yet,
beneficial to.
but we are working to, and we'll get back to you just as soon as we do.
And Catherine Herridge, if you're still here with us, I believe you have another little bit of information to help us piece together this story.
Right.
And you heard something this morning that might have been a clue?
That's correct. Well, when you think back to the president's news conference, he did take a question on the declassification of the Russia records that have to do with a surveillance warrant application in the fall of 2016 for a Trump campaign aide, Carter Page. House Republicans had been pushing very hard and aggressively to get these records declassified. And I believe it was in September, the president sent out a tweet saying that he was behind the move and he called for the immediate declassification. Then he did a very abrupt reversal. What we heard at the news conference today is that the president is pushing ahead on this issue now, and he said he didn't want to do it prior to the midterms because of the optics of it, quite frankly. What I know through my contacts is that Whitaker has been a quiet supporter of this declassification. And just to remind you and the folks at home what records we're talking about, it's 19 pages of the FISA surveillance warrant renewal. This was in June of 2017. This was the one that was signed by the Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, and his critics say it presents a conflict of interest with his oversight of the Russia case, as well as FBI interviews with a Justice Department official, Bruce Orr. You know that he was sort of this back channel for the dossier, as well as what's described as exculpatory evidence. That's evidence which conflicts with the Russia collusion narrative, and Republicans have maintained that that was not provided to the National Security Court and should have been at that time.
Catherine, if
Wow, this is a striking change. It really is. You know, we're almost Chuck Schumer.
Mueller and his investigation is paramount. It would create a constitutional crisis if this were a prelude to ending or greatly limiting the Mueller investigation. And I hope President Trump and those he listens to will refrain from that.
Well, Judge, what do you think about that?
I think this is this is the tip of an iceberg, supplementing what Catherine said. We're all familiar, though we haven't seen it, with those 19 pages. British and Israeli intelligence, the president himself revealed this, dissuaded him from revealing those documents. So there are a lot of fingerprints in there and a lot more in there than meets the eye, and the president did the 180. Said he was going to leave it up to Mike Horowitz, the Inspector General of the Department of Justice, to advise him as to whether or not the documents should be released. And now that's been below the radar screen in the lead up to the midterms.
Tell me about the process then, Chris.
Wow, this is so interesting. God, and we can't, you know, we've covered it. We're done. I'm done with it now. But man, I tell you, Jeff Sessions retiring, and I just happened to look up and see it on television. It's like Jeff Sessions resigns, and I'm going, oh my God, man. Well, I can tell you, we're going to get to the bottom of this Russian collusion, this Russian probe. President Trump keeps saying there's no collusion. Everything that we see says there's no collusion. So why are we still dealing with it? That's a great question. Chris Stirewall is speaking now. I'm not going to listen to that. But, man, I'll have more on this tomorrow. I'm going to make some calls to Washington myself and see what I can find out. But it's always great to have you all on the show. It's always great to talk about the issues. But keeping the Senate was very important for us, and for obvious reasons, the reasons I talked about earlier. You know, they control, you know, who gets confirmed for what offices, especially the judiciary. So we'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, doing our thing here at The Reality Check at Red State Talk Radio. Thank you so much for looking and listening. Next time, tomorrow, call us at 215-TOP-TALK, 215-TOP-TALK. Thanks again. Take care. Okay, we're still broadcasting on the Facebook channel. And I just wanted to say that we need to, as a country, understand that this division that they're talking about, there's always been division in America. That's why our government set up the way it is. We don't get along. We work with each other. We compromise, but we always have had differing of opinions. You had Democrats, you had Whigs, you had Republicans, we have independents. You know, we've always had differences of opinion. We worked through it. We worked through them, and we will continue to do that. We had Jacksonians. You know, we've always had differences. No, no one just gets along. You know, I don't know where that comes from, but it's very disturbing to me when people put it in the forefront and act like it's an issue. But I can tell you what's going to be the talk of the day for the rest of the day, and that is Attorney General Jeff Sessions resigning. Man, he gave up his Senate seat for this, to be dogged out, put out to pasture. But I think he made a few tactical mistakes in recusing himself from the Russian case and others. You know, he just stood up and fought. And I like Jeff Sessions. You know, I've always liked Jeff Sessions. I think he's a hell of a patriot, hell of a man. Here's a guy who took on the Ku Klux Klan. That's the first time I heard of Jeff Sessions. He was a judge in Alabama. So, General Sessions, wish you well, my friend. God bless you. Stay safe. We're going to sign off and put all this stuff up on the internet, YouTube, SoundCloud, direct stream, talkstreamlive.com. Thanks again. Take care. Thanks for your time. It's Charles Butler signing off. Boom, 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 boom.